Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm Barbara Sam. First, a quick look at the top stories this evening. Iranian strikes kill 24 in Israel, damages U.S. facility in Tel Aviv. President Trump attends G7 summit in Canada, discusses Iran conflict and trade tensions. ICE directed to expand deportations in Democrat-led cities amid protests. Members of Congress to receive security briefings after targeted Minnesota shootings. Trump Organization launches T1 phone service and $499 smartphone amid manufacturing push. And now to the news. Iranian missile attacks have killed at least 24 people in Israel and wounded more than 500 since the start of hostilities last Friday. According to Israeli authorities, among the latest casualties, 8 were killed on Monday as missiles reportedly struck civilian areas. One missile fell near the U.S. consulate in Tel Aviv, causing minor damage but no American casualties. The Israeli military accused Iran of deliberately targeting non-military zones and responded by conducting a new wave of airstrikes. The Israeli Defense Forces IDF said they destroyed over 120 Iranian missile launchers, many of them tied to Iran's Quad force. Israel also claimed to have achieved aerial superiority over Tehran. Iran stated that it has launched around 100 missiles overnight in retaliation for previous Israeli strikes that, according to Iranian sources, killed over 224 people. Human rights organizations estimate that the total death toll in Iran may exceed 400, including nearly 200 civilians. The ongoing conflict has led to the cancellation of nuclear negotiations between the United States and Iran. President Donald Trump has publicly denied any U.S. involvement in the Israeli operations. Diplomatic tensions remain high as both sides exchange threats and military strikes, with the situation continuing to evolve rapidly. Watch this.
After 4 days of conflict, footage captured from the air above Tel Aviv shows the extent of the damage caused by Iranian strikes. Iran fired a new wave of missiles in response to Israeli attacks early Monday morning, killing at least 8 people. Around 100 missiles were fired towards Israel, with powerful explosions rocking its largest city and interceptions visible in the sky. Meanwhile, Israel has declared aerial superiority over Iran's capital, Tehran, and has claimed it has destroyed a third of Iran's surface-to-surface missile launchers.
תוקפים בזמן אמת חוליות איראניות שמשגרות טילים לעבר מדינת ישראל, וגם לעבר מטוסינו. יכולות סגירת המעגל שראינו עד עכשיו בעזה, בלבנון ובאיו"ש, קורות עכשיו גם באיראן.
Iran has vowed further retaliation for Israel's sweeping attacks on Tehran and its military and nuclear infrastructure, which have killed at least 224 people. The last few days have seen Iran launch more than 370 missiles and hundreds of drones. Israel claims 24 people have been killed, with more than 500 injured. Iran claims it is defending itself, saying it is protecting its territorial integrity, and insisting that Israel's reasoning behind the attack, that Iran has been attempting to arm itself with nuclear weapons, is incorrect.
There is no doubt that we are very firm into defending ourselves and regarding for all of the activities and reactions against the Israeli regime activities, all of them has been doing in the framework of legitimate right and inherent rights of self-defense.
Ahead of the G7 summit in Canada, US President Donald Trump brushed off questions about US intervention.
President, can you give us a sense of what you're doing to try to de-escalate the situation between Iran and Israel?
Well, I hope there's going to be a deal. I think it's time for a deal, and we'll see what happens. But sometimes they have to fight it out, but we're going to see what happens. I think there's a good chance there'll be a deal.
For now, the conflict shows no sign of letting up, with the escalation of the last 4 days raising fears of a wider, more dangerous regional war.
President Trump joined world leaders Monday at the G7 summit near Calgary, Canada, amid rising tensions in the Middle East and ongoing global trade disputes. Speaking alongside Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, Trump addressed the conflict between Israel and Iran, saying Iran has indicated a willingness to de-escalate but emphasized they must make a deal quickly. While U.S. officials confirmed that Trump has seen messages from Iran through intermediaries, he declined to detail potential U.S. military involvement, stating only that it's painful for both parties, end quote. A draft G7 statement urging peace and civilian protection in the region is being calculated or circulated, but Trump reportedly will not endorse it. The summit also includes negotiations over tariffs the Trump administration has imposed on allies. President Trump reaffirmed his pro-tariff stance and raised the possibility of allowing China into the G7. He also commented on Vladimir Putin's prior expulsion from the group, claiming Putin only communicates with him. Prime Minister Carney described the bilateral meeting as fantastic despite underlying tensions, including Trump's past remarks about acquiring Canada. Carney firmly reiterated that Canada is not for sale, emphasizing mutual cooperation over ownership. Watch this.
All right, thank you. Mr. President, welcome to Canada. Thank you. It's a great honor. Happy birthday. A few days short. A little bit. A few days short, but didn't have a chance to see you on the day. Happy birthday to the U.S. military as well, 250th, and this is the 50th birthday, if you will, of the G7. This marks the 50th birthday of the G7, and the G7 is nothing without U.S. leadership, and your personal leadership of the United States, many issues. Geopolitics, economic, technology, and working hand in hand with the United States, Canada and the United States, and the other G7 partners with your leadership. Very much looking forward to the meeting and grateful to have you.
Thank you very much, Mark. I appreciate it, and we've developed a very good relationship, and we're going to be talking about trade and many other things. And we have a whole group of people, some traders and some other people. I see my top economy people. But we have a very talented group of people, and you do too, and I know they work together very well. I look forward to that. The G7 used to be the G8.
President Donald Trump has directed Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, to expand deportation efforts in cities governed by Democrats, including Los Angeles, Chicago, and New York. The directive comes after a wave of protests erupted nationwide over the administration's ongoing immigration enforcement operations. Trump called for what he described as the single largest mass deportation program in history and urged ICE to focus on cities where millions upon millions of illegal aliens reside. The administration reportedly plans to increase daily arrests from 650 to 3,000, according to White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. While directing expanded enforcement in urban centers, the administration has also paused immigration raids at farms, hotels, and restaurants due to concerns from those industries about labor shortages. ICE officials were instructed to hold investigations into key sectors, including agriculture and hospitality, according to a federal source. Protests under the No Kings banner took place in several cities, with clashes reported in Los Angeles and Portland. Trump credited the deployment of National Guard units in Los Angeles for minimizing violence. As he reported for the G7 summit in Canada, he noted that without the Guard, demonstrations would rip Los Angeles apart. Let's take a look.
Increase in ICE raids across Los Angeles this week. Tonight, President Trump is calling for even more expanded deportation operations in several major U.S. cities, including L.A. In a post to his social media platform, Truth Social, the president says he ordered ICE to, quote, do all in their power in America's largest cities, including L.A., Chicago, and New York, to achieve the administration goals of mass deportations. He calls these cities the core of the Democrat power center. So far, it's not known how exactly this will impact L.A., but yesterday, at the president's direction, the Department of Homeland Security said it would pause most raids on farms, restaurants, and hotels.
The news will be back after this break.
Money is the sign of shortage. Money is not the sign of blessing, it is the sign of shortage. Money is not the evidence of blessing, it is the evidence of shortage. It is the evidence of lack. I know nobody ever told you that. So you better listen to me now. I walk in absolute prosperity. So I can tell you, money is not a sign of prosperity. It's a sign of lack. It's a game that defines the classification of people. Once you are able to see beyond it and understand what God's plan is and who you are not controlled by money. Money becomes your slave. Somebody said, I wish I heard what Pastor just said in the month of May. Month of blessing, I would have applied it. You still have time. We carry all the blessings of the previous month into the new ones. That's what we do. Never let the thought of money control your attitude.
Yes, sir.
You know, there are people who become happy when they have money. And when they don't have it, you can tell. You just look at them, you can tell. You can tell they're broken down. Money's their master. They're worshiping the god of Mammon. When you are delivered from that, or when you've not been enslaved by that, you don't know when you've had money and when you've not had money, because you don't operate with those numbers. La korabakasaya, rabakanda lobosia. Are you still there?
Welcome back. Lawmakers in Washington will receive security briefings this week following targeted shootings in Minnesota that left one state lawmaker and her husband dead, and another lawmaker and his wife injured. The attacks have prompted concerns over political violence and the safety of elected officials. Senators are scheduled to be briefed Tuesday by the Senate Sergeant at Arms and U.S. Capitol Police. The meeting was organized at the request of Senate Majority Leader John Thune and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, who also called for increased security for senators. House members currently in recess will be briefed virtually the same day. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries requested security measures for the Minnesota delegation and other congressional members. The U.S. Capitol Police reported over 9,400 threat cases in 2024, more than double the number from 2017. Former Capitol Police Chief Thomas Manger said the rise in threats reflect the current political climate and emphasize the department's expanded role in investigating threats nationwide. Let's take a look.
It's a sad and somber Father's Day because we're all shaken by the horrifying shootings, murders that occurred in Minnesota.
Congressional members want to increase security after a gunman killed a Minnesota lawmaker and her husband in what the state's governor characterized as a, quote, politically motivated assassination. A gunman killed former Minnesota House Speaker Melissa Hortman and her husband and injured Minnesota State Senator John Hoffman and his wife during a targeted shooting. Capitol Police have increased security for both Minnesota Senators Amy Klobuchar and Tina Smith, who were reportedly additional targets of the suspected assassin. Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle have grown concerned as threats against members, their families, and staff more than doubled between 2017 and 2020. Lawmakers will hear from Senate Sergeant at Arms Jennifer Hemingway, the chamber's top cop, and the Capitol Police. After the Senate holds a security briefing, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries will host a Zoom conference addressing safety concerns. House GOP leadership held its emergency call in response to the Minnesota shootings. Concerned members urged House Speaker Mike Johnson to consider several proposals, including increasing security measures at members' homes and boosting security for meetings. However, Johnson may not be too receptive to enacting sweeping changes, according to a GOP lawmaker who said that, quote, nothing's changed.
The Trump Organization has announced the launch of a new cellular service, T1 Phone by Trump Mobile, priced at $47.45 per month for unlimited talk, text, and data. The plan doubled the 47 plan in reference to Donald Trump being the 47th U.S. president. It includes free international calling to over 100 countries, 24/7 roadside assistance, and telehealth services. No contract or credit check will be required. The company also plans to release a $499 smartphone in August, featuring U.S.-based assembly, 256 gigabytes of storage, 12 gigabytes of RAM, and biometric unlocking. The gold-colored device will be engraved with the slogan, "Make America Great Again." Eric Trump, executive vice president of the Trump Organization, said the initiative supports American manufacturing and jobs and aims to compete with established brands like Apple. President Trump recently warned Apple it could face a 25% tariff unless it moves production to the U.S. Critics have raised ethical concerns, citing potential economic distortions and possible tariff loopholes if the Trump-branded phones use foreign parts. Consumer advocates argue the initiative could intimidate competitors and blur lines between businesses and politics. Watch this.
We're here to introduce Trump Mobile. We've partnered with some of the greatest people in the industry to make sure that real Americans can get true value from their mobile carriers. A big part of what we've done right now in the world has been focused on technology for people who have been underserved, whether that's been in crypto or anything else. But one of the places where we felt there was lackluster performance was in the mobile industry.
The fact that all your customer service will be done in America. It's going to be done in St. Louis, Missouri. I hope I was allowed to give that out. And making phones in America. It's about time we bring products back to our great country. And it's about time we disrupt this space.
Aerospace startup JetZero will build a $4.7 billion manufacturing facility in Greensboro, North Carolina, to produce its new blended wing-body Z4 passenger jets. The company announced Thursday the project is expected to create more than 14,000 jobs, making it the largest job commitment in North Carolina's history. The factory will be located in Piedmont Trade International Airport, with construction set to begin in early 2026. JetZero Z4 aircraft aims to deliver up to 50% greater fuel efficiency than conventional planes and accommodate around 250 passengers. The state of North Carolina will offer a $1.1 billion in performance-based incentives over nearly 40 years, contingent on JetZero's meeting hiring targets between 2027 and 2036. Additional public funding includes $450 million in infrastructure upgrades and local incentives. JetZero expects to fly a demonstrator model in 2027 and enter service in early 2030. The Greensboro facility could eventually produce up to 20 aircrafts per month. The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
The life of a soldier is not just a job, it's a calling and a sacred tradition passed down from father to son, brother to sister, and one generation to the next. At every hour of danger, our noblest citizens have answered that call. Time and again, our enemies have learned that if you dare to threaten the American people, American soldier will chase you down, crush you, and cast you into oblivion. The last sound you ever hear will be the dueling howl of Black Hawks. Thunderous boom of artillery fire. Or the ferocious roar of a U.S. Army infantry brigade. For our adversaries, there's no greater fear than the United States Army. Now it's your duty to shield the flame of freedom that was first lit 250 years ago by the heroes of Concord Bridge and Bunker Hill. Standing before you today, I am more confident than ever that in the days ahead and every generation to come, the U.S. Army will heap glory upon glory. You will protect every inch of U.S. soil, and you will defend.
Welcome back. The Louvre Museum in Paris shut its doors Monday after staff launched a spontaneous strike, protesting overcrowding and poor working conditions. The museum, which hosted 8.7 million visitors in 2024, double its intended capacity, was unable to open, leaving thousands of ticket holders stranded outside. Employees cited understaffing, safety concerns, and physical strain from the constant flow of tourists as reasons for the protest. The strike follows broader anti-tourism demonstrations across Europe and comes despite President Emmanuel Macron's recently announced 700 to 800 million euro renovation plan set to include in 2031. At the center of crowd concerns is the museum's most visited piece, the Mona Lisa, which draws up to 20,000 visitors daily. Staff said the promised renovations include a dedicated gallery and a new entryway are years away, while working conditions are deteriorating now. Louvre officials may open a limited masterpiece route later in the week, but the full museum is not expected to reopen until Wednesday. The incident highlights growing tensions over mass tourism and aging cultural infrastructure across Europe. In more news, Mali Council of Ministers have adopted a bill to extend the rule of military leader General Assimi Goïta by 5 additional years, beginning in 2025. The decision, which awaits ratification by the National Transitional Council, would revise the country's transition charter to allow a renewable mandate. General Goïta has led Mali since taking power in two coups in 2020 and 2021. The move follows a decree he signed in May dissolving all political parties, a decision met with protests and reports of activist detentions in the capital, Bamako. The government says the bill reflects recommendations made during a national consultation held in April. Major political parties did not participate in that dialogue. Mali has been under military rule for most of the last 5 years, during which time elections have been postponed and insurgent violence by jihadist groups has intensified. No new date has been announced for a presidential vote. Just before we end the news, a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. Iranian strike kills 24 in Israel, damages U.S. facility in Tel Aviv. President Trump attends G7 summit in Canada, discusses Iran conflict and trade tensions. ICE directed to expand deportation in Democrat-led cities amid protests. Members of Congress to receive security briefings after targeted Minnesota shootings. Trump Organization launches T1 phone service and $499 smartphone amid manufacturing push. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm Barbara Sam. Good night and God bless.